Like several of my colleagues today, under the leadership of my colleague from Iowa, Senator Ernst, we come to the floor to discuss the benefits of the tax cut of 14 months ago. Congress then passed historic tax legislation that fundamentally reformed our tax code and provided tax relief to middle-income Americans and to job creators. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act, as it is called, made good on our commitment to provide significant tax relief to middle-income taxpayers while making the tax code simpler, fairer, and, of course, pro-growth oriented. Thanks to a near doubling of the standard deduction, millions of taxpayers are discovering right now their taxes, as they file their taxes, that they can pay less without spending hours and hours sifting through receipts and extra forms, all because the standard deduction is doubled. Middle-income taxpayers can also expect to see a significant reduction in their tax bill from last year. For example, an Iowa family of 4 with the state's median income of around $73,000 stands to see their tax bill cut by more than half, or approximately $2,000. This is real relief that began appearing in many taxpayers' paychecks at the start of 2018. Given this, then, the best way for taxpayers to see how tax reform affects their bottom line is to compare this year's tax return with last year's tax return rather than on the size of their refund. At the end of the day, the vast majority of taxpayers will see that less of their hard-earned money is coming to Washington for 535 members of Congress to decide how it would be spent. And of course, making that decision, 535 of us, would have less economic impact than if 150 million taxpayers with more money to decide to spend or save, how to spend it, or how to save it, would enhance our income, creating jobs much more than Washington disposing of that same amount of money. It responds to the animal spirits of the free market system, willing buyer and willing seller. This tax release stems from many pro-family and pro-middle income tax provisions in the law. The law also enacted much-needed tax relief for job creators. It provides a very significant deduction on business income for small businesses, effectively lowering their top tax rate to under 30% in many cases. And this bill corrects an injustice that has existed for decades, that there's never been recognition to the small business person who files an individual tax form compared to a corporate tax form. Small business has never had equity like they should. Small businesses, down to the smallest family-owned corner store and family farmer, are benefiting from that provision. Additionally, the law lowered the statutory corporate rate down from the highest in the developed world to 21%. The previous corporate tax rate was putting American companies at a very competitive disadvantage globally and consequently costing American jobs. Now, just as important, the law put in place immediate expensing for the depreciation of equipment that businesses of all sizes and shapes would invest in. As a result, job creators will have every incentive to invest back into their business and expand operations here at home. Nearly as soon as the tax cut was signed into law, its positive effects began to be felt throughout the economy. Hundreds of companies began announcing bonuses, pay raises, higher retirement contributions, new hiring, and increased investment. This included numerous businesses in Iowa. Utility companies across the country also responded by passing along their tax savings to their customers in the form of lower electric, gas, and water bills, higher take-home pay, bonuses for employers, and reduced utility bills were all important benefits of the tax cut. While the tax cuts and reforms has only been in effect for a little over a year, the economic signs point towards it having its intended effects. In 2018, the economy grew at 3.1%, the highest growth rate since 2005. Wages have risen at the fastest pace in nearly a decade. Nearly 3 million jobs have been created once the passage of tax reform, including more than 15,000 new jobs in Iowa alone. Unemployment rates for Hispanic and African American workers have hit all-time lows. For the first time on record, the number of job openings has exceeded job seekers for 9 straight months. Small business optimism is at near record highs, and growth in business investment has been more than twice the rate it was during the sluggish Obama economy. All of this good economic news points towards continued economic growth moving forward. This is key to sustainable, long-term wage growth, which is the most powerful anti-poverty measure that exists. Thanks to the tax cuts and the reform, America is open for business and the economy is booming, all to the benefit of individuals and families in Iowa and every state. Of course, all of this good economic news is no reason for us to become complacent. Over the next 2 years, I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to build on the success of tax reform. I say that willingness to work with my colleagues both from the standpoint of being an individual senator from the state of Iowa, as well as being chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. I yield the floor. I yield the floor.